الحمد لله وكفى وسلام على عباده الذين اصطفى أما بعد. My respected brothers and elders, mothers and sisters in Islam, today we will start this workshop inshallah, and I will try to make it as simple for you as I can, because the last thing we want is confusion. We can see that how it's difficult for us sometimes to even know about our prayers, which is done daily 5 times. And what about the ahkamat that? And you will see a lot of differences in different books, because the scholars of Islam, they have had these differences throughout. The reason the Prophet ﷺ performed only one Hajj in Islam, and many companions were there, and whatever they saw, whatever they understood, they took that. So that's why there's differences amongst the companions, and then later on amongst the scholars of Islam. First thing I'll mention, the word Umrah in the Arabic language means ziyarah, to visit. Now we need to discuss the intention. What does it mean, state of ihram? What are things that are forbidden in the state of ihram? Now al-ihram. Ihram means to be in the state where some things are permissible before but now are forbidden. For example, hunting is permissible for a person at any time, any day in the world. But hunting becomes forbidden in the state of ihram. Likewise, to use perfume or ether or any type of good smell is permissible, of course, desirable for men other times, but in the state of ihram is prohibited strictly. So this is what ihram means, that we are in a state where some things which were permissible before are forbidden now. Okay, now the first thing we'll be doing is a bath, ghusl. This is something which is according to the sunnah to do before going into the state of ihram. The best way would be to make the wudu first, then take the bath. This is the sunnah. Also, it is sunnah to cut nails, both hand and feet, before this bath or wudu. So we should be doing all this before we leave our houses, because once you're in the state of ihram, you cannot remove any nails. This is one of the restrictions of the state of ihram. You cannot cut nails, you cannot remove nails. So we should cut our nails, both hand and feet, before going into the state of ihram. Men and women are both same. Also, what we should do is, the men should trim their mustache. If they're habitual of getting a haircut, get a haircut, all of those things. And men and women both should be removing their hair, which are under armpits and other portion of the body, beneath the navel. Of course, as we all know, we're supposed to remove that. That portion should be removed. That hair, all of that should be removed before we take this bath for the ihram. And after being in the state of ihram, we cannot remove any hair. We cannot remove any hair, whether it's shaving, whether it's trimming, whether it's through combing, nothing. We should not even comb our beards, we should not even comb our hair in the state of ihram. Men and women are alike, both in this. Okay? Also, after the bath, the men should wear the 2 pieces of cloth. And men will wear these 2 pieces of cloth, okay? And he can wear that belt, but he will not wear anything else. Nothing underneath, no shirt, nothing of underpants, nothing like that, okay? And no socks, of course. And the slippers that he will wear, men, should be like, the rubber slippers that you get that are usually used in the bathrooms, flip-flops like that. You use those slippers. They have no, threads in it, no sewing in it. Actually, the main thing is that this portion of the feet has to be left uncovered. Okay, this portion, all of this. So that has the strap like this. Understand? Flip-flops. So you can keep this portion uncovered. I'm not showing the women because the sisters don't have to worry about this. They can close their feet. They wear closed shoes. This is only for the men. 2 pieces of cloth like this and shoes, this is flip-flops like this, is only for the men. But make sure that the sandals, sometimes if you buy the sandals from this kind of sandals, little better sandals from somewhere else, they will have threads, they have sewing on it. Make sure it doesn't have sewing, because the ulama, they have written that the sewing is not only in the cloth, it is in the shoes, it is everywhere. So nothing sewn can be worn. Okay? So make sure that. So that's why the easiest way is that if you get those simple ones, they're just rubber. But make sure you get more than one, because once you're walking, sometimes it's gonna come out, and sometimes sometimes gonna be taken by others. Sometimes you're gonna lose one of them, things like that. So you can always have few as backups with you. Okay? So this is for the men. You can wear a watch in the state of ihram. There's nothing wrong with that. For the sisters, they will wear normal clothes, sewed clothes. That's fine, and they will close their, they will wear closed shoes also. That's fine. They can wear socks also. That's okay. All of these things are okay. The only thing that they their ihram is in the face. Okay, that they will cover their heads properly, but the face they have to uncover. So they will have to leave the face uncovered. Those sisters that cover their faces, the way to do this is that they can wear something on their heads, like a hat, okay, like a baseball hat, and they can keep the niqab, the front portion, far away from their faces, because the main thing is that the face is not touched by the cloth. That's the main thing. And this type of method is established from some of the narrations, because the Ummahatul Mu'mineen, they would do tawaf, and if some strange men would come in front of them, they would close their faces. They would cover their faces. Just to say that sisters who cover their faces here, but when they go there, they should not cover their faces. This is not correct, because they should continue to cover their faces over there also, but in this method they should do it that the cloth does not touch their face. And later on they can give some sadaqah just to be on the safe side, because sometimes maybe through air some of the cloth might have touched, so for that few dollars of sadaqah can be given just to be on the safe side. So this is for the men and women in this manner with the clothing. Women can wear jewelry. Of course it's better not to, but they can wear jewelry. They can have their purse with them. That's fine also. And men will not cover their heads. So you will not have any covering on the heads, no covering on the face, nothing on this part, nothing. Just these two pieces of cloth, like this. Also, you can get a thicker one like a blanket, which does not have any thread in it, no sewing in it, and you can use that also if you feel cold, because it sometimes becomes cold over there. We cannot cut nails from anywhere of the body, of course, hand and feet for both men and women. Cannot remove any hair, like I mentioned, and we cannot use perfume. Men and women both alike. We cannot use perfume or anything that has perfume. So we have to be very careful in regards to perfume, and in regards to things like that have perfume, scents like lotions. We cannot use. We cannot use scented soap, and it's even better not to use soap at all, even unscented soap. But unscented soap, at least permissibility has been given by the scholars. But scented soap we cannot use. So we should be very careful, because sometimes we go in the bathrooms and we just have a habit sometimes to use the soap quickly. So we should be very careful. This is the restrictions of ihram, and it's difficult sometimes. No shampoo, none of these things should be used in the state of ihram, because all of these things have scent in it, perfume in it. If he does it in mistake, then he should immediately wash it off. That's fine. But too long to keep the scent on it, then there becomes a problem. Immediately, if he does it just quickly and washes it off, then it's fine. Yeah, Bandit can be used. But again, over there also we shouldn't put any type of lotion or anything that has scent. Okay, so this is some of the things. Also, the reason, think about it. Even unscented soap we should not use. The reason is because what does all this mean? Why? Think about it. What is the concept behind the state of ihram and doing the hajj like this? Why aren't we supposed to put perfume? Why aren't we supposed to wear soaked clothes? Why aren't we supposed to comb our hair? Things like this, remove our hair, because all of this would be part of cleanliness. But why aren't we supposed to do it? Because we are right now going back to the way we were created and our natural state, and just the way we will be on the day of judgment. It's all supposed to remind us about the qabr and the grave and the day of resurrection, all these things. And sometimes a person will feel dirty. He will feel a little bit like he doesn't have anything that he usually normally uses, the comfort that he does not have. But this is that's what Allah loves at that time, because it comes in some narrations that these people, they are in this kind of situation and they're making dua to Allah. in this, first of all, in a journey. The hair is messed up, it's dusty, they have dust over them, the cloth is not so clean, and they're making dua to Allah. Allah loves that situation. Allah accepts that sacrifice of these people. So this is why we should not use some of these things, even if it's unscented. Brushing the teeth also, if it has a scent, we should not use it. We can use the miswak over there, especially this will give us a chance to use the sunnah, the miswak, which is a sunnah, and emphasize sunnah. And over there you will find many of them, and this miswak is, if you use it properly, the proper one, if you get the proper one, and if you cut it and use it the way it's supposed to be used, and after a few days cut it again, this is better than even toothpaste and toothbrush. And the smell also, good flavor and very nice. So you can use that instead. As a matter of fact, before going to the state of ihram, for the men to put perfume on, this is according to the sunnah. Prophet ﷺ used to use it. Ummul Mu'mineen Aisha radiallahu anha used to put it herself, like it comes in the narrations. But we should use it in such a manner that it doesn't leave behind any effect, that like it's so much there that even after being in the state of ihram it will get on our clothes. Not like that. And we should not use it on our cloth. We should just use it on our bodies before the ihram. Okay? But be careful, just use it, rub it all on the body, and then after that go into the state of ihram. We should not get anything on the cloth. How do you go into the state of ihram? This is very important to know this. Some people think that once they wear the 2 pieces of cloth, they are in the state of ihram already. This is not true. They can wear 2 pieces of cloth, wear the 2 pieces of cloth, still they will not be in the state of ihram. They will be in the state of ihram when 2 things are done: niyyah and talbiyah. Niyyah is intention, and talbiyah are the words that I will mention today inshallah later on. Labbaik Allahumma labbaik. It is desirable to perform 2 rak'ah with the condition that it is not any of the 5 forbidden times of prayers. Okay, remember this. If it's these 5 times of which are prohibited for prayers, then we should not do this 2 rak'ah at that time. We should delay, wait, and then do the 2 rak'ah when the prohibited time is gone. The prohibited times are sunrise, sunset, midday, after Fajr prayer, and after Asr prayer. Niyyah is intention, okay, and the intention is with the heart's main intention. But if he says it with his tongue also, the words, then this will be better. So the intention in Arabic will be like this. If he can learn this Arabic and do it with the Arabic, it will be better, and knowing the meaning. But if he cannot, at least he can do it in his language also. That's fine. Allahumma inni uridul umrah. So Allahumma inni uridul umrah. This means that, oh Allah, I intend umrah. فَيَسِّرْهَا لِي وَتَقَبَّلْهَا مِنِّي. That, oh Allah, make this easy for me and accept this from me. This is the words in Arabic, and this is the summarized meaning of these words. Again, Allahumma inni uridul umrah fayassirha li wa taqabbalha minni. It's very easy to remember if we just spend some time remembering it. So once a person does the intention with the heart and also with the tongue, which is better to do, and does it in this manner in Arabic, and then after the intention recites the words of talbiyah at least once, he's in the state of ihram now. All the restrictions of ihram apply to him now. These 2 acts, tawaf and sa'i, are 2 main portions of umrah, 2 main acts of umrah. So we need to know how to do it. First thing, the word tawaf actually means to go around something, and in Islam it means to go around Al-Ka'batul Musharrafa 7 times. So remember that in the definition I mentioned 7 times. So every tawaf is 7 times, 7 circles, 7 complete circles. It cannot be less than that, cannot be more than that. First thing to be done in Umrah is tawaf, and the wudu is necessary for tawaf. Any tawaf that a person does, he has to be in the state of wudu. Okay? His clothes have to be clean, his body has to be clean. Tawaf starts from there's a strip that is there. Al-Ka'batul Musharrafa has 4 corners. The corner of the black stone, Al-Hajarul Aswad, you will see there is a strip now. It's difficult to see it when it's crowded, and I think they took it off this year. But there used to be a strip there, like it goes right on the corner a line on the floor, like this gray line, like this, all the way to the stairs. So right there, that shows the corner of exactly black stone. So it starts from that corner, that strip, and one time completely to that strip again, that's one circle, and like that 7. The way to do it is that in the beginning, before starting the tawaf, that we come to that strip, to that corner, and stand in such a manner that the strip will be on our right side. Before we started that, meaning we'll be on the left side of the corner first. And we face the Kaaba, and at that time, looking towards the Kaaba, we should make the intention. The intention should be with the heart. We can say it with the tongue also, that we are going to make the 7 circles around the Kaaba for the pleasure of Allah. Then after that, the intention should be that I'm about to make 7 circles of tawaf, of umrah, for the sake of Allah. Oh Allah, make it easy and accept it. Okay? After intention, the men should wear their top garment of ihram in such a manner that the right shoulder is open. Remember I showed that? It's called ittiba, that the right shoulder will be open. The way to do it is that place that the shawl that we are going to wear, that sheet, the middle part, place it under your left side, under your right side, and place the 2 portions on the left shoulder, and then the right shoulder will be uncovered. Okay, and after we do this, we start this again. Ittiba is sunnah in all 7 circles of the tawaf. All 7 circles, this uncovering of the arm will be there. After this, after we finish the tawaf though, we should cover up our arms again. We should not keep it uncovered, like I mentioned before. After the intention and doing this for the men, we should come to the strip now, and with our facing Al-Ka'batul Musharrafa, facing Al-Hajarul Aswad. This thing is called istiqbal, that we are facing Al-Hajarul Aswad and that corner. And istiqbal should be done in such a manner that raise both the hands up to your ears, like how we raise it at the time of prayer, okay? And while raising the hand, there is a particular dua that is there. It's a lengthy dua that I can give you, inshallah, but there's short dua also for it, because we will not have a lot of time, because it'll be very crowded. So we will definitely have to go with the shorter dua at the time that we make when we do the istiqbal. After this, and we do the dua, after saying this dua, leave your hands, okay, like the prayer. So we make the dua while the hands are up. Then after that, istilam is done. So there's 2 words. One is istiqbal, the other one is istilam. Istiqbal is raising the hands up to the ears and making this dua. And after we leave the hands, the istilam is done. Istilam is that if we are very close to Al-Hajarul Aswad, the black stone, that we kiss it. And the way to do it is putting our face on it and kissing it. But if we cannot do that, at least to touch Al-Hajarul Aswad with the hand and kiss our hands. Or touch it with something and then kiss that thing. And if we cannot do any of this, most likely that we cannot, so from far, just to point towards it like this, like we are placing our hands on it, okay, not up to the ears anymore, like this, placing our hands on it, and then kissing our hands without making any sound, just kissing our hands like this. This is called istilam, and we from this istilam we start the first circle of the tawaf. Then we are going around 4 corners. And we are going to be in concentration and making dua to Allah, in the dhikr of Allah. And it's appropriate not to look towards Al-Kaaba continuously. We can look, but to continuously look like this is not the right thing, because the tawaf is done in such a manner that our left side should be facing Al-Kaaba when we are doing it. It's like a circle, so your left side would be towards the Kaaba. Your body should be straight. Okay? Any dhikr can be done. Any dua can be done. And it can be in any language also. Quran can be recited also. But it's better to do dua and dhikr than Quran recitation. And it's definitely better to do it in the Arabic language if we understand it properly, in the Arabic language to do the dua. If we can just learn 1 or 2 duas with the proper meaning and repeat that is okay also. Just Subhanallah, Alhamdulillah, wa la ilaha illallah, wallahu akbar. Every time to repeat that is good also. We don't need to, learn long duas that we will not remember and forget. Things like that.
Can we keep the handbook and read it?
Yeah, I'm going to mention about that. It's better not to do that because for some reason, one of them is that we won't have full concentration when we're doing that. Not in the dua, not in our tawaf. And we will be, sometimes we can even harm others because we're looking at the book, we're trying to walk, it's crowded, you can trip, or you can harm yourself, you can harm others. So the best thing is that we don't really have to read all those du'as. It's not necessary. It's not even established from the sunnah to read a lot of du'as. The thing is that just pick one or two, and whatever you know properly with the proper pronunciation, and you can learn the meaning, just keep repeating that throughout. There's two du'as that are good to learn, and I will give you these du'as. One of them is the Prophet ﷺ, from him only few things are established during the tawaf. One of the dua is that from the Al-Hajarul Aswad, from the black stone to the Hatim, to the Hatim. Hatim is again that half circle, to that point only, which is only one corner to second corner. Because Al-Hajarul Aswad is the first corner, and when you reach the second corner pretty much, Al-Hatim will start. So it's really the first lapse, 1 quarter only. And that dua is a very beautiful dua. I'll give that, I have it here also. And you should try to memorize it if you can, and I'll give you the meaning also of it today, that what it means. So that dua is established from the Prophet ﷺ, and if we could repeat that every lap in the tawaf, from that first corner to the second, that would be the best thing. And this dua is that Allahumma qanni'ni bima razaqtani wa barik li fi wa akhluf ala kulli ghaibatin li bi khair. La ilaha illallah wahdah la sharika lah lahul mulku wa lahul hamdu wa huwa ala kulli shay'in qadir. The end part, La ilaha illallah wahdahu la sharika la lahul mulku wa lahul hamdu wa huwa ala kulli shay'in qadir, pretty much everyone knows. Just we have to remember the first part, Allahumma qanni'ni bima razaqtani. Allahumma qanni'ni bima razaqtani wa barik li fi wa akhluf ala kulli ghaibatin li bi khair. And what it means is that, oh Allah, qanni'ni bima razaqtani. Whatever you have given me in rizq, give me qana'ah upon that. That give me satisfaction upon that. That I am satisfied with what you have given me, and I am not greedy for more. This is the first part. وَبَارِكْ لِي فِي, and bless for me in that rizq that you have given me. Give me blessings in that. وَخْلُفْ عَلَى كُلِّ غَائِبَةٍ لِي بِخَيْرٍ. So you're already making dua for your rizq and qana'ah. This is right there, very concise, very beautiful dua. Continuing now, وَخْلُفْ عَلَى كُلِّ غَائِبَةٍ لِي بِخَيْرٍ. That whatever I have left behind, from my family members, from my wealth, from anything of my possession that I own, that take care of it. وَخْلُفْ عَلَى كُلِّ غَائِبَةٍ لِي بِخَيْرٍ. Take care of it and just, protect it. La ilaha illallah wahdah la sharika lah. There is no one worthy of worship but Allah alone. La sharika lah. There is no partners unto Him. Lahul mulk wa lahul hamd wa huwa ala kulli shay'in qadir. For Allah is the kingdom. For Allah is the all praises. Wa huwa ala kulli shay'in qadir. He is able upon everything. So this is a beautiful dua which ends with the oneness tawheed of Allah. So you can see how beautiful this is. And the other dua that is established from the Prophet ﷺ is between the Ar-Ruknul Yamani, which is the last corner before coming to Al-Hajarul Aswad again. From that corner to Al-Hajarul Aswad, the black stone. And that dua is رَبَّنَا آتِنَا فِي الدُّنْيَا حَسَنَةً وَفِي الْآخِرَةِ حَسَنَةً وَقِنَا عَذَابَ النَّارِ. You will see everyone reads this over there. So this is the dua that is established at that time. Also some narrations have the dhikr of Subhanallah walhamdulillah wa la ilaha illallah wallahu akbar at the time of tawaf. A lot of reward for that if a person does that dhikr also. So that is there in the books of hadith also. So this is the dua that is established at that time. And every time we finish one circle, we come to the black stone, we face Al-Hajarul Aswad again, and we do istilam again every time. That put our hands towards, like we're touching it, and kiss it, and then start again a second circle, third circle, like this, 7 circles. So how many istilam are we going to do? 8. Because if you do 7 circles, you're going to start with istilam and you're going to finish with istilam. That's 8. Okay? So 8 istilam. Okay, Ramal. Ramal will be done in the first 3 circles for the men. Okay, in the first 3 circles, men will do Ramal. Ramal, what is Ramal? Ramal is when we walk fast a little bit, but we don't run. We walk fast and we take quick steps, short steps, quick steps, and it's just like how you're going towards an enemy to try to put fear in them that I'm coming towards you, like that. Taking out the shoulders and the chest and walking towards, like that. So only the men should do this, and this is sunnah in such a tawaf after which there's a sa'i again. So if we're doing that tawaf, leaving of the right hand, right arm uncovered, then we are supposed to do this Ramal also, because that means that right after that tawaf we're going to do sa'i. Ramal means to take your chest out, move your shoulders, to walk in such a manner, take quick steps and close steps, but not to run. If someone forgets to do Ramal in the first circle, just do it in the next 2. But there's only going to be in the first 3, that's it. Okay? First 3, and it's going to finish. If we're walking with our families, and of course they cannot do Ramal, then and they might get lost in the crowd, then we should leave the Ramal and just go slowly with our families. Okay? You can also use, there's some things over there that you can buy that, to keep count. 1 circle. It's like a small, like a tasbih, like you just put one, I finish 1 circle. Just for reminder, you can use those things also if you want, just to make sure that 7 circles are done. If you are in doubt whether you have done 7 or 6, then do 1 more, so that we are certain at least we did 7, but nothing short of 7. Okay, you will see one other thing, that over there people will do a lot of things, so don't follow what the people they're doing, because a lot of people they're doing it out of ignorance, they don't know. You will see people that when they come to Ar-Ruknul Yamani, see, Al-Ka'batul Musharrafa has 4 corners. The first corner is the black stone. Second and third corner, they are known as Ruknayain Shamiyain. And the fourth corner is known as Ar-Ruknul Yamani. Okay? So when Ar-Ruknul Yamani, we come to this Rukn, we see people, they will also point at this Rukn, this corner. But we should not point at it. Okay? We should not do anything to it, we should just keep going. Okay? So if we are very close to it, where we can touch it, then just touching it, this is established. But not to kiss our hands after that, not like the black stone. Okay? To go to any other place of Al-Kaaba and touch it, and to, hang on the cover of it and things like that, this is all wrong. We should not do these kind of things. People do a lot of things. People try to steal the cover, people try to cut the cover, take a piece back home, crying over there. We should not do these things. Only place to touch of the Kaaba is the black stone, the Ar-Ruknul Yamani, the fourth corner, right for the black stone. And if we can get place, Multazam. Multazam is where the black stone is, and the door of the Kaaba is between that place. That place is known as Al-Multazam. So that place, if we can ever get there, when it's not that crowded, then to not only touch it, but to place our chests on it, and place our cheeks on it, and cry and make dua with our hands like this. This is a sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ, Messenger of Allah ﷺ, with his hands on it like this, putting his right cheek on it and his chest on it, stood there and cried. That place is known as Multazam, and the place, the dua is accepted by Allah Rabbul Alameen. So if you can, without pushing anyone and harming anyone, to go there. You will see people are pushing people to go to the black stone to kiss it. Again, these things are wrong to do. We should not do these things or harm anyone when we are doing our tawaf. Okay? Always remember that there are 3 things to be done after the tawaf. The first thing is that go to Multazam and make dua. This is the first thing. I already explained what is Multazam. That is between the door of the Kaaba and the black stone, the small place. It's like this big, the corner of this table. One corner to another, okay? Like this long, this wide. And so to go there and make dua, the first thing, once we finish the tawaf, after the 7 circles. And if we cannot go exactly there, we can be far away facing it. Okay? Like say the board is the Multazam, the board in front of me. So we can be here, we can just face it, raise our hands and make dua. Dua is accepted in that place, especially after the tawaf. And this is what the Prophet ﷺ did. Okay, another thing to be done after that is 2 rak'ah of tawaf. Prayer after the tawaf. And this 2 rak'ah is actually compulsory. Okay? It is better to pray these 2 rak'ah in such a manner that Maqam Ibrahim is in front of you and the Kaaba is after that. So say the board is the Kaaba, right? And Maqam Ibrahim is this table here. Okay? So I pray here. So Maqam Ibrahim is in front of me, the board, the Kaaba is in front of me, like that. This is the best. If you cannot get room there, too many people there and we're harming others if we pray there, then you can pray in the back, farther away, in the same line. Or in any side of the Kaaba. Anywhere in Al-Masjidul Haram, that's fine. Understand? Anywhere. But we should not harm others and pray right there by Maqam Ibrahim. Maqam Ibrahim is the place where station of Ibrahim, where Sayyiduna Ibrahim alayhi salam's, the stone is there which has his footmark on it. The mark of his, his steps. Okay? That's Maqam Ibrahim. It is better to recite in the first rak'ah Al-Kafirun and in the second rak'ah Al-Ikhlas. Qul ya ayyuhal kafirun in the first and Qul huwallahu ahad in the second. It's better, but anything can be recited. But we should not pray these 2 rak'ah in the 5 times I mentioned to you before. Sunrise, sunset, midday, after Fajr and after Asr. So if we finished our tawaf, we can do tawaf anytime during the day and night. Anytime during the day and night, tawaf can be done except 2 times. One is when the iqamah is being called for the prayer, we should stop our tawaf. And the other is when the imam gets up for the khutbah of the Friday, we should stop our tawaf. Other than that, we can do tawaf anytime during the day and night. Sun is rising, we can do tawaf. But after the tawaf, if it's these 5 times of which are prohibited for prayers, then we should not do this 2 rak'ah at that time. We should delay, wait, and then do the 2 rak'ah when the prohibited time is gone. The prohibited times are sunrise, sunset, midday, after Fajr prayer and after Asr prayer. So if we're doing tawaf after Fajr, we should not make the 2 rak'ah after the Fajr. After we finish our tawaf, we should wait till 15 minutes about after sunrise and then make the 2 rak'ah. If we're doing tawaf after Asr prayer, we should wait till performing Maghrib prayer, and after the Maghrib prayer, we should make our 2 rak'ah. Understand?
What is the niyyah for the 2 rak'ah?
The 2 rak'ah niyyah will be that this is 2 rak'ah after the tawaf. That is compulsory upon us. That's it. Okay? So 2 things. First thing is go to Multazam, make dua. Second thing is make the 2 rak'ah. But to go to Multazam and make dua is better. So if we don't do it sometimes, it's, we're depriving ourselves from a lot of blessings, but it's not like the tawaf is not done. But the second thing, praying these 2 rak'ah is compulsory. So we'll be sinful if we leave this. Okay? The third thing is to drink Zamzam. This is after every tawaf. To drink Zamzam. So you have now the well is closed, but you have all these fountains there. So if people are drinking, you can go to any one of them right there. Right there is Multazam. You finish your tawaf, you do the Istilam for the 8th time. Right on the black stone, you move a little bit, make the dua by the Multazam, go a little bit more, Maqam Ibrahim is right there. If you can, make your 2 rak'ah right there. Right there is the Zamzam's fountain. You can get there, the taps are there. Just, take the water, Zamzam, and to drink the Zamzam and make dua also at that time, because dua is accepted. To drink the Zamzam facing the Kaaba and, making dua at that time for knowledge and for shifa. Again, the dua is Allahumma inni as'aluka ilman nafi'a wa amalan mutaqabbala wa shifaan min kulli da'. This is again, I'll give you all these adhiyah later on in Arabic. So this is the dua at the time of drinking Zamzam, okay? All Zamzam in Al-Masjidul Haram and Al-Masjidul Nabawi. No other water there, all Zamzam. Everything about tawaf is pretty much completed. Sa'i is in Arabic just known to run or to rush. And what it means in a chapter of Hajj is to go between Safa and Marwa. Between 2 mountains. One of them is Safa, the other one is Marwa. And it is 7 times. And always remember that you start from Safa and you finish on Marwa. So one time from Safa to Marwa is considered one, and then Marwa to Safa back is considered twice like that. So it will be finishing always on Marwa. And whenever a person does Umrah, he has to do Sa'i after the Tawaf. That is part of the Umrah, 4 things. And always remember, in Hajj there is a Sa'i also. Just like there is Tawaf in Hajj, Sa'i in Hajj also. Other than these two, there is no other Sa'i. There is no such thing as Nafil Sa'i. And always remember, before the Sa'i there must be a Tawaf. Person cannot just go and just say that I'll do Sa'i today. So, and it will start from Safa, go a little up on Safa and turn towards Al-Ka'batul Musharrafa. You can see Al-Ka'batul Musharrafa. Make the intention, make the dua. And then go from Safa to Marwa. You're walking normal pace and in the dhikr of Allah, in dua. Just, you can even read Quran, just like tawaf. But it's better to make dhikr of Allah. You'll see 2 places come, both on this side and that side. It's a hall. So you'll see that it'll have like tube lights, green tube lights. Al-Milayn, Al-Akhdarayn is called. A little before that, you start running. Okay? And when you finish that, you stop. Little before, few steps before, you start running, and a little bit after, you stop. Okay? But again, this is only for the brothers, not for the sisters, the running. So if the sisters are with you and they might get lost, then you don't have to run also. Or if it's too crowded, then you don't have to do that. Here there's running, not in Tawaf, but here there's running. And the historic point behind this is, as we all know, that Ibrahim alayhi salam left his wife Hajar alayhi salam and his baby Ismail alayhi salam in barren land, Makkatul Mukarramah, before Al-Ka'batul Musharrafa was built. And she asked that, is it from Allah? He said yes. And then she said that if it's from Allah, Allah will take care of us. And he left and he went on the side where she could not see anymore, and he made dua and then left. And then he was thirsty, Ismail alayhi salam, the infant. So she was going on top of Safa and seeing if there is people coming with water, and then coming back and running and going on top of Marwa and seeing if there's people that are coming, so that with any type of water, because it was a dry land. And she kept doing this, and 7 times she did this. And Ismail alayhi salam was there by Zamzam's well, and either his feet hit or Jibreel alayhi salam came and hit it, but the well of Zamzam came out. And Zamzam started coming, water started coming like that. So this is the historic point behind this Sa'i. Sa'i is done in the masjid, Al-Masjidul Haram now. The Mas'a is inside the masjid. Mas'a is the place where Sa'i is done. So a woman who is not in her pure state, if she's in her monthly period, she cannot do this. Just like she cannot do tawaf because she cannot enter the masjid. Okay, Sa'i is compulsory in the Hajj and Umrah. Sa'i means to go around Safa and Marwa 7 times, or go between Safa and Marwa 7 times. Procedures: you start from Safa and finish at Marwa. From Safa to Marwa 1 time considered 1 lap. Like this, you complete 7 laps. Okay, and also Sa'i should be done walking on his own. If there is a legitimate excuse, then it is permissible to use a wheelchair, just like the tawaf also. It is desirable to be in the state of purity or in wudu in Sa'i. Okay? After making tawaf, a person drank Zamzam. Before going for Sa'i, make istilam 1 more time. So how many istilam will that be? Istilam is again when you look towards Al-Kaaba, Al-Hajar al-Aswad, like this, and kiss the hands without making a noise. So how many times will there be istilam then? 9 times.
Yeah.
Because 8 times is already done in the tawaf. Because 7 times you're going around, you start with it, you finish with it, so that's 8. Then after that you go to you do 3 things, right? After the tawaf, after every tawaf. Go to Multazam, make dua, drink Zamzam, do the 2 rak'ah, drink Zamzam. Then you come back after drinking Zamzam and make istilam again. 1 more time. This is better to do. If you cannot do it, it's fine, but it's better, desirable. And then that's the same way entering into Safa, the same place. and you go towards Safa and you ascend upon Safa. So this is what it's saying here, that before going for Sa'i, make Istilam, then it is desirable to enter from the Bab As-Safa. This is the door of As-Safa, to enter from that door. Then he should get on Safa so high that he can see the Kaaba. Not too high, but as long as he can see Al-Ka'batul Musharrafa. If you go up on Safa, Al-Kaaba will be like this. Okay? And where I am, I'm looking towards that way, that's Al-Ka'batul Musharrafa then. And Marwa will be that way, this is Safa, okay? So go up, facing the Kaaba, he should make the intention. Then the intention is that I'm making 7 laps for the sake of Allah, the sa'i of Hajj or Umrah, whatever the sa'i is for. That's it. In the heart, this is enough. Then he should raise his both hands like how it is raised in dua. When you raise the hands in Istilam, you raise it like this. Okay? You raise it like this in the beginning. But when you are raising your hands in the sa'i, raising like how you make dua. A lot of people make this mistake. So he should raise his both hands like how it is raised in dua. Do not raise the hands the way it is raised for salah. Okay? Takbir, Allahu Akbar should be said. Okay? Tahleel means La ilaha illallah, should be said loudly. Allahu Akbar, La ilaha illallah. And Tahleel should be said loudly also, and salawat upon Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam should be said softly. So we say Allahu Akbar loudly, La ilaha illallah loudly, Allahumma salli ala, any durud, any salawat. As-salawatul Ibrahimiyya would be the best one, of course. That would be softly. Then he should make dua. Any dua he can make at this place. This is one of the places where dua is accepted. And he can make dua in his own language. But of course it is better if he does it in Arabic, fully understanding the meaning properly without messing up the words. And making the dua that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam made, of course, would be the best thing. لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له له الملك وله الحمد يحيي ويميت وهو على كل شيء قدير لا إله إلا الله وحده أنجز وعده ونصر عبده وهزم الأحزاب وحده. This whole thing. Okay. The above takbirat and ad'iyah should be said 3 times. So this Allahu Akbar, La ilaha illallah, and this dua that you say should be done 3 times, not just once. Then he should make dhikr and go towards Marwa. Again, he can make any dhikr when he's going towards Marwa. Like the same thing in Tawaf. But of course, if the dhikr that is established from Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, that would be better. When he will see al-milain, al-akhdarain, the 2 green lights, again, little before that, men should start running 6 hands before the green light. 6 hands, little bit before. Okay? And 6 hands after, he should discontinue this running. What to read? Between the 2 green lights, Rabbi Gfir warham wa antal a'azzul akram. This is the dua to be read when you're running in the mas'ah. When he reaches Marwa, he should get on top of Marwa the same way, like he got on top of Safa. See, it's like this. You're here, you're going straight towards Marwa, and people are coming back towards Safa like this, okay? And Al-Kaaba is that way. So you were on Marwa, you were facing Al-Kaaba, then you started going like this, straight. Then when you get there, you get on Marwa, okay? You make a turn. There's a place, the flow is going that way. You make a turn, and you get on top of Marwa, and you face. Now, which way are you supposed to face?
This way.
That right. So direction is Al-Kaaba, remember that. Okay? But you're not going to be able to see Al-Kaaba from Marwa. It's blocked off now. But just the direction is enough. You will see other people doing it also. So there, you can move a little bit to the side, because if you don't move to the side, people are going to push you away. They're not going to let you stand. So you can move a little bit to the side, raise your hands again. Same way you make dua and dhikr on Safa, same way you do on Marwa. Again, do it 3 times, and you continue towards Safa. Again, get on Safa, do the dhikr the same way, the dua, looking towards the Kaaba, like you did in the beginning, go towards Marwa. Again on Marwa, you do the same thing, then back to Safa, then Marwa, like this. So this is how 7 times. Okay, when he finishes the 7 laps, then it is desirable to make 2 rak'ah again. Okay, this is after the sa'i. But this is only desirable. If he doesn't do it, it's okay. But the 2 rak'ah that is offered after tawaf, that is necessary to do. Okay, that is necessary to do. The one that is after tawaf. The 2 rak'ah after sa'i is just better to do, not necessary. Okay? And the men in the sa'i will not keep their arms uncovered, because they're not, that is only in the tawaf. Understand? So this is how the sa'i is not very difficult. You can do it on the first floor, you can do it in the second floor, third floor, all floors there's sa'i, there's whatever is easier. First floor is of course always very crowded. So this is in regards to the sa'i. So we have done tawaf, we have done sa'i, we have done the in umrah basically. And there's barber shops all over. You can go to the barber shops and get the haircut. And just make sure though that when they shave your head, that they use a brand new razor. They take it out from the packet.
Okay.
A lot of people people bleed.
Okay.
When and you can take your own. But a lot of them, they don't know how to use those clippers over there. But just be careful if you're using their clippers. Tell them to place a new one there, blade. And if they're using razors, whatever, tell them to use a new blade. They'll have to take it out from their pocket and pack it and use the new blade. And for the sisters, the easiest way would be if their husbands or their brothers, some mahram does it for them in the rooms, or other sisters can do for one another. And the way to do it for them is that they're going to trim their head, hair. They're going to do it like this, that they make like 5 portions, for example, of their hair. Like 1 portion here, 1 portion here, like 1 portion here, okay? And each portion take this much from, okay? So that way it will be from all over the head, because it's supposed to be done from all over the head. And it's going to be, 1/4 also. This is the easiest way. And make sure that when you go for your haircuts in the barber shop, they take... barbers over there, people don't care, what is going on. And we have to care about our own Hajj and Umrah. We're spending so much money and time and going. So they will take like soap water and they'll place it on you to wet your hair before they cut it. And you're still in the state of ihram, because until they cut your hair, you're not out of the state of ihram. So, tell them, take your own water with you if you can. I mean, that's what I do. I take a bottle of water with me. If they say wet your hair, I wet it myself. I don't use their water, because their water has soap in it, and I've seen that. I've seen that. Just take your own water and wet your own hair.
For men, instead of around.
Bottles of water being sold everywhere there. And this is a misconception. Some people think that they have to always the ladies have to always keep their hair covered in the state of ihram. Even when they're making wudu, even other times when there are only women there, this is not true. If their hair is uncovered sometimes in front of other women or in front of their husbands, this doesn't do anything to their ihram. Okay?